Brood 10,000 by Teal Livingston.
The cicada emergence is really quite an astounding evolutionary mystery, was quoted Erica Knight 10 years ago by the Annual Review of Entomology during a brief interview for an upcoming article, now mostly redacted and ultimately squashed by its editor before publication to never see the light of day. A leading authority in her field, Dr. Knight would later be condemned by peers, her research grants culled, and all pertinent information, i.e. written notes, recordings, submitted articles, emails, private conversations detailing her highly sensitive findings, collected by the State Department and classified as top secret. Furthermore, the young doctor would eventually be interviewed, questioned, interrogated, put under wraps, and ordered never to discuss her findings again, ever, either publicly or privately. During the ill-fated interview, she'd go on to explain that some places may see a few cicadas, while others might witness thousands. Then, astoundingly, you'll have regions with hundreds of thousands or more per acre coming out of the ground. Are they destructive, even dangerous? Asked Rupert Thompson, an editorial assistant for the review who was enamored with the doctor. The cicadas don't cause much annoyance, other than their shrill singing and the crunchy husks left behind when they're molting, Erica replied. She might be the most attractive woman I've ever seen. Rupert thought, do I have a shot? He whispered aloud. A shot at what? Dr. Knight asked, watching a flush of rose ignite across the pale freckled man's cheeks to match the color of his curly red hair. Confused but regaining his composure, the research assistant replied eagerly. To ask you another question, of course. Used to and also disgusted by the effects of her beauty upon both men and women, Erica replied confidently, shoot away. Rupert leaned his plump frame back into the uncomfortable coffee shop chair, of which he was seated, and nibbled at the cap of his blue Bic. And what's the history of these little critters? Well, according to various periodicals and peer studies, cicadas date back to a time when humans split from the apes, making them more than 5 million years old. So it goes without saying they've seen and survived changes to the climate and their habitat. Wow! Yes, the good doctor continued. Wow was right. We've learned many surprising facts. For example, they can travel through time by changing their life cycles in 4-year increments. It's no accident the scientific name for periodical 13 and 17-year cicadas is Magi cicada or magic cicada. Now, you mentioned a resilience to climate change. Most notably, I imagine, development and deforestation as well. Do the cicadas have any other evolutionary defenses? The doctor paused briefly for a moment. The standard answer would be, by sheer numbers. Possibly 1 million per acre. Predators can't possibly eat them all, meaning many will survive to reproduce. However, Dr. Knight's answer to Rupert's question would have the university pulling her funding and taking her off tenure track. Her statement was as follows. Presumably, at one time, there was just one brood, maybe 10,000 years ago or a little less. That is when the forests in North America began to look like they do today, towards the end of the Pleistocene era. As forest cover decreased and cicadas became reproductively isolated, they formed different broods, eventually splitting to even smaller groups. Go on, encouraged Mr. Thompson, leaning in still and close. The doctor, mirroring the quirky man's repose, shared her secret, an unbelievable truth yet untold, that while studying prehistoric cicada rock formations, what were believed by other researchers to be fossilized hairs, she determined were actually teeth. And given the sheer size and weight of the prehistoric insects, they would have had incredible mandible strength, that these unusually large insects were carnivorous, perhaps feeding on the blood of mastodons, short-faced bears, and mammoths, much like that of the prehistoric mosquito.